What is so interesting is from the outside looking in, people will look at the work you've done and say, God, $1.6 million, $1.7 million. Oh my God, that's a lot of money. You're getting paid all this money and it's so easy. Put in the time. You've put in like 35 hours so far. And it's not that, we get paid necessarily by the hour. We get paid for the professionalism. We get paid for the performance. We get paid for the guidance. We get paid for, standing up for the client in such a way that ends up saving them $200,000. Really interesting. People they don't see it from the outside looking in, what we do. And it's very easy for a customer to say, oh, I want you to reduce your commission. Very easy to say, oh, can you give me back a little spiff on the back end? I'm buying a couple $1 million property. Why don't you? Very easy for them to ask for money. And it's really, sometimes we have to really stand our ground and share with them.
I think it was Vivian that said you have to know what you're doing before you open your mouth and say something. And you were the one that said to make sure that you do your research ahead of time, and knowing that it was a bunch of new construction that was being done on this place to remodel it. A lot of companies around here don't pull permits. And at that price point, I ran the comps. I knew it was overpriced. I took the time to pull up the city permits just to see if they were pulled, and they weren't.
Yeah. Good. Tell your client they should give you a bonus.
I think my paycheck's worth enough. And the bonus would be them letting me list their primary residence.
That would be a bonus for them to have you list their primary, because really all you're doing is you're displaying value, right? You're displaying the value that you bring above and beyond. So well done, man. That's super cool. So let's actually piggyback off what Joe started and discuss lead follow-up today. That's really all you did. It was a lead and you followed up with them and set an appointment. And now you're under contract. And lead follow-up is such an important part of the business that gets overlooked. People think it is so important to always get more leads. We need more leads, more leads, more leads, more leads. Guess what? There's plenty of leads already. Are you following up on those leads aggressively, right? Sean and I were talking a week ago or so, right, about this, and he went out and did some lead follow-up. And what'd you find, Sean, when you did your lead follow-up? It was a Friday. It was like 2 Fridays ago, right? You went and you door knocked a bunch of your leads and did some follow-up, and you found a few different things out there. What'd you find?
Yeah, well, let's see. First of all, let's start off on a high note. People are a lot more welcoming and open because they recognize you, they remember you from the last conversation. Also, you know their name by that point, so even just opening up with saying, hey, Tom, already makes them feel a lot more comfortable, which was really nice because this was door knocking follow-up. But yeah, one of the families that I had met with, let's see, around September or October, they gave me a heads up at that time that they would be looking to sell in January to move up with their son up in Sacramento. So I was like, all right, cool. I kept a little mental note that I was planning to knock them in around November, end of November, beginning of December. During that time, though, however, I got into an escrow, one of my first real buyers that I've really worked with here. And so my attention was diverted from that. I was helping them out, and then the holidays came, weeks go by, and then suddenly it's January, it's mid-January, and I look at my notebook and I see knock on this door again, and I go, oh my God. And so I rushed over there, knock on the door. They're still there. They answer, like, oh, hey, Sean, how's it going? I'm like, hey, how's it going, guys? I remember last time we talked, you were talking about wanting to move up north. How are things going with that? And they said, oh yeah, we're still doing that. We just signed the paperwork with Kaminsky. And I went, great.
Ouch. And what was the price of that property?
Let's see, I think it's listing for about 2 million right now. So
That's a good lesson, right? That's a good lesson. But then you continued on your door knocking follow-up. You went to a few more doors, and what else did you find?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Yeah, went to a couple other doors, and saw that people were still had the plans that they were talking about, that there was still just time needed for things to kind of get in place. So lesson learned, it was great that I went to that house first, and then I went to the rest on my list. Now there's a lot more urgency behind what I'm doing, because I was a bit too lax about it last year. So now these people that say, oh yeah, in spring is when something's going to happen. That's like, great. You know, I'm not going to wait until spring to knock them again. I'm going back in a couple weeks. I got to keep, because anything can change at any time, and you don't know how many other people, other agents they are talking with, and who else is trying to get that same listing that you're going for.
100%. You are not the only one with that lead. So we discussed that it was actually a good thing. You know, listen, much better to get the listing, right? But if you're not going to get it, draw the lesson from it. Learn what you did wrong. Become better. You know, take responsibility, 100% responsibility. I didn't get that listing. It was my fault. I failed miserably in lead follow-up. I will never let that happen again. So the lesson is not lost, and that's going to be something that will really benefit. So yeah, great lead in. So lead follow-up is so important. So point number one on lead follow-up, be fanatical about your lead follow-up, because they gave you their name for a reason. They gave you their name, they gave you their number, you have their address. They became a lead for a reason. They shared with you they have some level of motivation to do something. Don't let them down. Follow up. They gave you their name for a reason. They gave you their phone number for a reason. Follow up with them, for God's sake. And let's really make sure that we're there at the right time. Next point, 90% of our appointments will come from lead follow-up, not from your first contact with people. How many times have you prospected and the first time you talk to them, boom, you just set an appointment? In many cases, it requires a level of lead follow-up. It's just part of the program. So let's just not have this expectation where we need more leads. We need more leads. We need people to just call us up and want us to come over and list our houses, or call us up and say, oh, I want to buy that property. Can you write it out for me? That is not realistic. It requires lead follow-up more than 90% of the time. You know, when I look at our board, I didn't set the appointment with any of those people the day we got the lead, whether it was an open house lead or a prospecting lead or a referral lead or a, you know, cold calling lead, whatever it was. There's follow-up that is required. So we got to get good at follow-up. Some people say, well, what the hell am I supposed to say? What do I keep calling these people every week, every 2 weeks? What do I tell them? So something that I've always loved doing in lead follow-up is to check in with them, and I'll share with them something that's going on in the neighborhood. You know, hey, Joe, I just wanted to get in touch. There's a new listing that just came on the market right around the corner from you. And I didn't know if you knew about it, but I wanted to keep you informed as to what's going on in the neighborhood. It's a 3-bedroom, 2 baths over on 123 Main Street. It's listed at $855,000. Just want to keep you in the loop. Anything changed with you guys? You guys are still looking to sell, right? And your timing is still X, right? Perfect. So when's the soonest you might consider doing that? When should I call you back in the future? Like, there's just that very, like, there's an engagement, right? There's an urgency. Next point. If I'm not getting a substantial amount of my business from lead follow-up, I'm not doing a good job on lead follow-up. If you're not getting 90% of your business from lead follow-up, if you're not finding that you're having to follow up with people again and again and again to get them to set an appointment with you, you're probably just not doing enough of it, right? Oh, I just do one deal here. You know, I have a really close friend of mine. They called me up. They said they wanted to list their house. I went over and I listed it. Great. How many deals do you do per year? 2. That's not a healthy business, right? If you're not getting a substantial amount of business from lead follow-up, it means you're not doing enough prospecting and lead follow-up. This is kind of an interesting point. Next point about lead follow-up. Remember, the most important part of lead follow-up, most important part of that program is a large trash can. You must accept the fact that you will cycle through a large number of leads to achieve your goal. Now, what does that really mean? A large trash can. I don't want to find the lead and work hard to find the lead. I'm going to go door knock and find leads and cold call and find leads and do open houses and find leads and get referrals and call through the pond like Joe did, or, you know, whatever it is. Or I'm going to do all this work finding the damn lead, and then I got to throw them out if they're not, you know, if they're not really a lead. That's hard to do. Well, there's multiple reasons why you don't want to keep bad leads. There's a few reasons for that. But right now, we'll focus on those reasons after. But the main thing is, if they are not a lead, if they are not looking to buy or sell in whatever your time frame is, you have to define the meaning of a lead. Sean, have you defined what a lead is for you?
Lead is someone I see that is going to do something within, I'd say within a year to at least be considered a lead. You know, they're a cold lead, a cool lead, but yeah.
Yeah. So depending on the market, depending on what's going on, and depending on how many leads you have, I find that a good time frame is like 90 days, generally, right? Unless there's a very specific reason, like no, we are retiring in August. You know, August 15th, we're retiring. August 16th, we want that house on the market. We want out, right? Like, okay, fine. I'll follow up with that person because they're very specific. But otherwise, it's usually like 60 to 90 days. People are ready to do something, right? So if they fall outside that time frame, let's say your time frame is a year, Sean, and someone says, oh, we're going to do something in 3 years. All right, do you want to hold on to that person for the next 3 years? No. They don't fit your definition of a lead. Now, could you put them in some kind of automated drip system? Fine, throw them in there, forget about them. But are you going to aggressively follow up with someone that's not looking to do something for multiple years? No, it's a waste of time, okay? So once you determine what a lead is for you, let's say you're somebody that says, you know, I want to look for people that are doing now business. And so I'm going to follow up aggressively because either they're going to do something or they're not. But you can't keep up that level of intensity for long periods of time. That just doesn't lend itself to doing a bunch of business. Okay, next point. Most agents have too many leads. The disadvantages of having so many leads are the following. So this is what I wanted to discuss. What are the disadvantages of having too many leads? Now you might ask yourself, how could that possibly be a disadvantage? Too many leads? No way. That's a good thing, right? Not necessarily. Let me just let Ashley in. So when we consider too many leads, disadvantage number one to having too many leads. And by the way, when we say too many leads, we're talking about leads that are not great. Because I don't think anybody would mind having too many leads that want to list their home in the next 7 to 10 days, right? It's like, yes, I'll work all day, all night, go on those appointments, do whatever you have to do, right? But a lot of times what agents do is they don't have those types of leads. They have leads that are going to do something in 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or 1 year or 2 years, or maybe they'll sell if the time is right, when things are appropriate, if this happens, pending the possibility of, it's like, oh my God, please, like, do you want to buy or sell or not? So people collect anybody with a heartbeat that says, we're thinking about doing something in the next couple of years. That's a lead for most people. The reason why you don't want to just collect 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200 leads is because if you're going to do aggressive lead follow-ups, then what happens is that the bad leads hide the great ones. Mark, you know the story about this, collecting way too many leads. How many times have you come across somebody that wants to buy or sell only to come across their name 3 to 6 months later and see they've already sold and closed? I mean, this has happened
Too many.
like 100 times, would you say? over the years? I think so. And it's because the bad leads hid the good ones. When you get greedy with leads and you start holding on to everything, oh, this guy says, he might sell his house at some point in the future. When this happens, if this person gets voted president and this happens to the rates and this happens to their job and this happens to the economy, oh my God, seriously? Like, do you want to buy or sell or not? Right? But when you start to clog your system up, number one, the bad leads hide the good ones. Number two, if most of our leads are not great leads, the urgency for lead follow-up is diminished. When you start pulling in too many junky leads, you lose that urgency, that fire to follow up on everybody. Right? Sean, when you did that door knocking lead follow-up and you're coming across someone that says, yeah, we're still going to do something. It's like, it fires you up to go do more lead follow-up and do more prospecting. But when somebody says, yeah, we're still going to think about it, come back in another 6 months. You start getting enough of those people, you totally lose your fire for lead follow-up. It's like, oh my God, why would I want to do lead follow-up? It's all these junky leads, all these non-motivated people. And then again, all the bad ones ruin it for the good ones, right? The third reason why there's a disadvantage to having too many leads is it's a huge waste of time to be tracking and calling people on a regular basis who are not going to be moving in the near future. It's just a waste of time. You moving yet? No? Okay, I'll call you back in a month. You moving yet? No? Okay, I'll call you back in a month. It's like, it really is so exhausting following up with people that don't have a high level of motivation to do something. And the last reason that there's a disadvantage to having too many leads, especially junky leads, is you get what you're looking for. You get what you're looking for. If you're looking for people that are motivated, that are ready to set an appointment, you'll find people that are motivated and ready to set an appointment. If you look for people that just are a future lead, you'll find more future leads and you'll clog up the system with more future leads. You truly will find what you're looking for. If you're looking for people that want to buy in the next 2 years, you'll find 100 of those people. If you look for those people that are looking to buy in the next 2 weeks, you'll find one here and one there, but guess what? You'll end up doing more business. There's less of those highly urgent ones out there, but you get good at finding those, your business changes for the better. So one of the fears that a lot of agents have when doing lead follow-up is specifically asking the person for their motivation. So, Chad, let's say you're a lead. So Chad, tell me, what's important to you about moving? How soon do you have to be there? What happens if you don't move? Like, I'm really gauging your motivation. Where do you want to move to? When do you want to be there? What happens if you don't get there? How motivated are you on a scale of 1 to 10 to make that move? One of the reasons that agents are afraid to ask people their motivation, really get clear on their motivation, is because the client might not be motivated. And then we realize we don't have a real lead. So it's really important to ask questions, lots of questions of your leads when you're doing your lead follow-up. Remind me again, Chad, where are you guys moving to? And how soon do you have to be there? And what's important about that? And tell me more about that. Right? Really get down. And what happens if you can't go to Tallahassee and you can't be there in 3 months? And Chad says, no, I have to be there in 3 months. My job is starting. Like, I'm going one way or the other. Like, I got a hot lead on my hands. Or if I don't go to Tallahassee in 3 months, I can wait. I can go in 3 years. Doesn't matter to me. My family's there. I'm not even excited to go back there. I might just stay here for the next 3, 4, 5 years, right? A little less of a lead. So remember, what's our job as an agent? It's really kind of 3 things, right? Our first job, generate leads. Our second job, convert leads. And our third job, go on appointments. That's it. Generate leads, convert the leads, that's lead follow-up, and go on the appointments. Let's try to really simplify what our job is. let's try and simplify our schedule. What's our schedule? It should be, it should be based around generating leads, prospecting, converting leads, lead follow-up, going on appointments, taking listings, showing houses to buyers, making sales, right? By the way, do leads have any value? A lead is just a name on a piece of paper, right? Leads don't have value. Appointments have value. Appointments have value. That's when a lead really has value, right? Somebody says, yeah, I'm looking to sell my house. When would you like to do that? Next week. Great, let's set an appointment. You want to do that today or tomorrow at 4? Let's do it today. Excellent. There's huge value there. Yeah, I want to sell my house. When would you like to do it? Sometime in the future. Why don't we set an appointment? Not ready yet. When will you be ready? I don't know. What has to happen before you hire an agent to sell your house? Not sure. How important is it that you make this move? Not too important. Where would you like to go to? Don't know yet. Are you sure you want to move, right? Like you can see there's no appointment there. There's really no value. So being wonderful at asking questions, that's really what separates kind of the productive agents from the non-productive agents. Next point with regard to lead follow-up, always look at the following question carefully. Is my mindset managing leads or going on appointments? What an interesting point. Is my mindset managing leads or going on appointments? You know how many systems there are for lead management, right? Drip campaigns and text this and social media that and like all this fancy stuff. And yet, are we in the lead management business? We're in the appointment setting business. That's where the rubber meets the road. Identify maybe how many leads you currently have. How many people you're working with? How many people want to buy? How many people want to sell? Realistically. Are there 2? Are there 5? Are there 25? Oh, 5 for Joe. So if you've got 25, those probably aren't very motivated leads, right? So one thing that you can do to determine if your leads are motivated, there's 2 simple lead follow-up questions that you ask them. Call every one of your leads. Hey, Chad, it's Aaron Klapper, eXp Realty. How are you? Good? Hey, Chad, I wanted to check in. Do you still want to sell your house? He goes, yep. Great. Can we set an appointment for this week? That's the 2 questions. Chad, do you still want to buy a house? Great. Can we set an appointment for this week? What day is better for you, Monday or Tuesday at 4? The great lead follow-up script from Mike Ferry. It's not that complicated. Do you still want to buy or sell a house? Can we set an appointment this week? Let's see what we got here in our chat. Database of 378, 4 want to buy, 1 wants to rent. The rest are just prospects for later. Perfect. Somebody knows their numbers. And now with those 4 that want to buy, you can have some real urgency towards your lead follow-up, right? That's beautiful.
I reach out to them every day when there's something new, once a week when there's not, and I let them know, hey, Mark specific, and each one specifically wants something. And the one renter, he already owns a house. He's just getting separated, and he only wants to rent because he doesn't know what's going to happen to his wife when they get divorced. And once that happens, then it'll be, am I buying or am I leaving the state?
See, that's why.
And I know the clients. I know them well. I've talked to them on the phone several times. We've had the appointments. We have our agreements. We just have to find the right property.
Yeah, and that's exactly why when I decide to go to the Chesapeake Bay, Joe is going to be my agent. Would you guys not want Joe to be your agent? Look what he does. He knows he's got 4 leads right now. He's got 4 buyers. He looks every day what's going on and calls them. This is what's like. He is completely in tune. And yet what do most agents do? They're trying to get as many leads as they can. They're buying leads from Zillow. They're doing this, they're doing that. They got pieces of, paper with names written on them. I got to call this person. They're not taking care of their people. They're not doing effectively strong lead follow-up. Congrats, Joe. That's really good. It's beautiful.
I still made 34 phone calls, 26 texts, and 2 tailored emails to do prospecting today. It's all tracked on my little nice.
Yeah, beautiful.
Hey.
So you're categorizing your prospecting time, your lead follow-up time, but look at the effectiveness, right? Look at the effectiveness at prospecting, lead follow-up. That's really, really cool.
Sean pointed me out to Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry's philosophy is to know your numbers, and I'm an analyst by trade. So I took what you taught and what Sean pointed out, and I time block my day down, and I track my numbers.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Next point, we overprotect our leads by putting them into computers and elaborate systems rather than calling them every day. Right? I mean, what are we? Computer technicians, right? I mean, Joe just kind of said it. Got 4 people, you know where to find them, carry them around all the time, give them a call. There's a level of kind of human kind of, this is what it takes, guys. Think about it. You got to put yourself in the position of the buyer or the seller. You're motivated to buy a home or sell a home. What do you expect from the agent that you're choosing? If you're looking to buy a home, do you expect to be on automated emails, or do you expect a phone call from the agent saying, Dave, I got the perfect property for you, man. You're not gonna believe what I found. What are you doing today at 3 o'clock? We got to jump on this one and see it. Or some random email that comes, hey, Dave, don't forget to, I don't know, I can't even make up some stupid email. But the point is that, well, both, yeah, I guess you're right, Joe. But at the point is, the higher they are in their level of motivation, meet them where they're at. Meet them where they're at. And that's what effective lead follow-up is. Aggressive, effective lead follow-up is like, to a motivated buyer or seller, they're like, they just can't get enough of it. They're thinking, this is the person I want to work with. They are as motivated as I am for me to get this house. They're on my side. They're here to support me. They're here to help me win. It's really, really cool. We have to remove the following thought. I can take a non-motivated person and through long-term lead follow-up, make them motivated. This is poor business thinking and it's pure ego. That's what happens when we collect too many leads. We do that out of greediness because we think we can actually take someone that has like mediocre motivation at best, and through our lead follow-up skills and our drip campaigns and our this and our that, we're going to turn them motivated all of a sudden, right? Let's quit doing that. You want to put people on some automated system? Fine. But if you're going to be doing your aggressive lead follow-up, quit thinking we can create motivation in people where it doesn't exist. That's why we ask these questions. Where are you moving to? How soon do you have to be there? What's important about that move? What happens if you can't make the move? What happens if it doesn't happen? How important is it on a scale of 1 to 10? Plus, prospecting without great lead follow-up is just a waste of time, right? So Joe, you made all those contacts this morning, right? Without great lead follow-up, you find someone that's a lead and you're not going to aggressively follow up. Why do the prospecting? Lead follow-up is just the other side of the coin of prospecting. It's just the next natural step prior to setting an appointment. So, next point, let your prospects know that you're going to call them aggressively to demonstrate the type of service that you offer. If you like to call expired listings, let them know. I'm aggressively following up with you, and that's what I do once you hire me. I'm going to aggressively follow up on the buyers that come through your property. I'm going to aggressively follow up with the agents. I'm going to aggressively do all this to make sure that we get a big number, that we sell it for the right price, that we sell it quickly and efficiently and maximize value for you. You're just displaying through lead follow-up how you work every day, right? Before a buyer buys, if you're following up with them aggressively, you're showing them how hard you're going to work for them once they're your client. Super cool. And then this is the final point of the day, and I think it's a great point. Remember the question, this question. Have we lost more business because we overcall or undercall our leads? Have we lost more business because we overcall people or undercall people? Motivated people love aggressive agents. They love it. Who has lost a deal in the past by undercalling? I know I have. Lots of them. You didn't call enough. You didn't follow up enough, right? Raise your hand, Mark. Now, who's lost from overcalling? You're calling me too much. Don't ever call me again. Oh, Joe, one. I've never. You're calling me too much. I've never heard that. I've heard that, but not like. Actually, I've gotten listings because I've overcalled. I remember one lady, Patricia. She goes, Aaron, when we were listing the property, I said, Pat, why did you decide to list with me? She's like, you simply just called more than anyone else, and I knew you would get the job done. I was like, that's awesome. She's like, you would not stop calling. You were relentless it was an expired listing. She's like, you were absolutely relentless. And every time I hung up the phone with you, and then you'd still call back, I was like, this guy's going to get it done. So that's the points for today on lead follow-up. It's just such an important part of this business. It's not the sexiest part of the business. It's not the most exciting thing to do. God, keep calling people and asking for appointments. But it is, Kyle Whistle talked about it the other day again. 26 touches on average before they set an appointment with somebody. That's all lead follow-up. Now, a lot of that is automated. A lot of that is just, he has, thousands and thousands and thousands of internet leads. So if you're not doing that, we don't do that. Ours is more like door knocking and lead follow-up, but it might be 3 or 4 or 5 touches of lead follow-up before you actually set the appointment, right? And that's okay. Part of the program. Anything you guys are dealing with that you want to bring up and discuss as a group? Any challenges? Prospecting, follow-up, scripting, scheduling, mindset, anything at all?
I'm still trying to find a good way to
Good what?
a good way to call expireds. Now, I'm not in my market. There's a lot of people that call expired, so I'm not thinking of the, hey, my listing just expired today or within the last 3 days, because everybody goes through Vulcan, they go through RedX, and they do that.
Yep.
But my MLS allows me to go ahead and look at, say, 90 to the last 180 days. And when I go through those ones and I click next, and I just go to the history tab and I can click through them, I'll see, oh wait, it's sold. So the MLS will still show me the newer stuff, but I can see, oh wait, that one expired and it left the market unsold. So I'm thinking of adding that as another touch. And for my distressed property calls, I've already found out through using US phone book, I can reverse search the address and the person's the name to get the phone numbers to call them. But I haven't found a good way to phrase a script that's successful on opening the communication, other than asking them if they were still interested in selling their property. Because I noticed that I noticed, oh, Aaron, I noticed your home left the market unsold. Were you still interested in selling? And the one guy I called, he's like, yeah, I wanted to sell it, but I'm never going to trust one of you real estate agents again. I said, well, would you mind telling me more about that? And he just hung up the phone on me. Mm-hmm. So I figured I need to polish my communication skills first before I try opening up a different market.
Yeah. You work on a team, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how many transactions does the team do per year?
Collectively, we average about 60. It's just
Okay.
a small team.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, you can call people and say, hey, listen, I'm from the so-and-so team. My name is Joe. We sell about 60 homes per year. And we always have buyers looking in the marketplace. There's not a lot of listings out there. And I know that you guys were trying to sell your home about a year ago, or 3 months ago, or 6 months ago, and it didn't sell. So I'd love to keep it in my potentially my available inventory list for our buyers. Would you still consider selling the property? Try something like that. Now, if you're going to get somebody that's upset, I would call that guy back. And I would just say, I'd pick up and say, hey, sir, don't hang up for a second. I want to ask you a few questions. You call that guy back and say, hey, don't hang up. I want to ask you one question. He's like, fine, what? you know, listen, I get that you were dealing with a total knucklehead before. You were dealing with one of those blood-sucking agents out there that doesn't care about their clients. They just care about themselves. But not all agents are like that. And we happen to work on a team that sells 60 properties per year. That means we have wonderful buyers all the time that are looking to purchase property. So I just wanted to reach out to you and see, would you still consider selling the property if we had somebody that would pay you a great number for the property? I'm not trying to just get your listing. This is not a solicitation, but we work with buyers and you have a house that you are selling. And I'd like to know if we have the right buyer for your property, would you still sell it? Yes or no? If you can kind of break down those walls just a little bit, you'll see there's a little chink in the armor and you can have a conversation and it'll say, because I called a lot of expireds and some of them would hang up all the time. That's fine. You call back and catch him on a bad day. And clearly he had a crappy situation with his previous agent, right?
I bet.
So, that's somebody you could even potentially door knock. There'll be I'll bet you there'll be a sweetheart at the door, you know? But I would call back. What's that?
I said flash on over.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I would just call back and just say, hey, I just get real with them real fast. I would sometimes call people back immediately after they hung up. And that's the first time I would say, hey, don't hang up. I want to ask you something. And then it kind of breaks the tension. They're like, holy cow, you seriously I just hung up on you, dude. I'm like, I know you did, but I need to ask you something real quick. I'm not here to be a bother. I'm not trying to piss you off, but we work with a ton of buyers. And I get it. You're not looking to relist the property. Don't relist the property. I couldn't care less. This is not a solicitation to list your home. But if we have a buyer and you want to sell, we'd like to put a deal together. So let's chat about it for a minute, right? Now, many times those end up coming back around to listing conversations. But many, many times I've told people, this is not a solicitation to list your home. And then after a 15-minute conversation, I'm saying, you know what? I don't mind doing this. I'll do an analysis for you. Let me actually see why the home didn't sell and come over and take a look at it. And I'll give you a presentation. I'm not expecting you to list the house if you don't want to, but at least have a professional like myself take a look at it, and then we can decide where to go from there. So you want to meet today at 2 or 3? What's better for you? I'm like, all right, let's do 3. So there's, this guy's pissed off, and that's fine. Got to give him his space to, be upset, but sounds like he's still motivated and needs somebody to help him. So
Yeah, and the one person I asked around here locally that has experience with expires, he's like, oh, I never touch those people because after it's been expired and stayed off the market that long, they're not really motivated. I'm like, well, they were motivated enough to put it on the market and they left it on there for 6 months, 8 months, however long till it expired.
Yep.
It just didn't sell. So location, condition, price, but it's still a potential listing. And there's so many people. We have 8,000 agents here in Hampton Roads. Well, if everybody's going after that chunk of the pie, this one might be a smaller piece, but if there's only a couple of agents going after that smaller piece, I can get a larger chunk of that one.
100%. This is a guy,
as much.
by the way, this is a guy that's saying that to every agent that calls him. And most agents, they call him once, they're done.
Okay.
You call this guy 3, 4, 5, 6, you call him until you get an appointment, you'll get that listing.
And I
You gotta
didn't think
thank him.
about going at it with I have the buyers. I was going at it as, let's sit down and talk, and maybe I can see why it didn't sell, and list your home and let's get it sold.
That's how I would go about it. I never did I had a buyer thing. I would always just say, I would use my skill set to kind of be on his side.
Like I said, I could sit down with my own database and say, look, I have 378 people that are looking at homes right here. Now, none of them are ready to buy other than 4 of them, but I do have buyers.
Yeah, totally. No, it's totally fine. Listen, I'd like to come preview your property.
Okay.
Let me come take a preview. If we had somebody that wanted to buy it, would you still sell it? And at what price, please?
All right. And Armida, did the file upload and come through fine? Rita, you asked me to load a file. Okay.
There you have it. All right, guys, go out there, do your prospecting, do your lead follow-up, have a healthy mindset. See you next week. Take good care, guys.